My ex-wife said, "I never wanted to come back." 3 weeks later, she refused to leave the first time I saw Rachel standing in my driveway again. She looked like someone who had been carrying an invisible storm for years. She didn't cry. She didn't smile. She simply stared at the front porch where we had once dreamed about growing old together. Then, quietly admitted that she had never wanted to come back. I believed those would be the last words she would ever say to me. I had no idea that only 3 weeks later, she would refuse to leave. And the reason would change both of our lives forever. Before we begin, if you believe in kindness, hope, forgiveness, compassion, and second chances, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Your support helps these stories reach hearts that may need them today. My name is Nathan, and I lived in a quiet neighborhood outside Asheville, North Carolina. 3 years earlier, Rachel and I had signed the divorce papers after months of misunderstandings, endless work schedules, and pride that neither of us knew how to put aside. There had never been betrayal or hatred between us. We simply became strangers living in the same house, until one day we both convinced ourselves that leaving would hurt less than staying. Life after the divorce was peaceful on the outside, but painfully empty inside. I filled my days repairing furniture in my small woodworking shop and spent evenings volunteering at the local church pantry. Friends told me I had moved on, but the untouched coffee mug Rachel had left behind in the kitchen proved otherwise. Some memories refuse to leave, even when people do. When Rachel appeared unexpectedly one Saturday morning, she looked exhausted. Her confident smile had been replaced by quiet uncertainty. She explained that her apartment building had suffered severe water damage after a burst pipe, and every hotel nearby was completely booked because of a large regional festival. She insisted she wasn't asking to restart our marriage. She only needed somewhere safe to stay for a few nights, until things were repaired. Everything inside me wanted to protect my heart, yet compassion spoke louder than fear. I carried her suitcase to the guest room without asking question. We agreed it would only be temporary. The first few days were awkward. We moved around each other like careful strangers, speaking politely about groceries, weather, and neighborhood news. Yet small moments slowly began breaking down the walls between us. Rachel noticed that I still watered the roses she had planted years ago. I discovered she still folded towels exactly the same way she always had. Familiar routines quietly reminded us that love sometimes leaves fingerprints long after it disappears. One afternoon, I returned from work and found Rachel sitting on the back porch with my elderly neighbor, Margaret. They were laughing together while sorting donated blankets for families in need. Margaret later pulled me aside and whispered that Rachel had spent nearly every afternoon helping at the church pantry while I was working. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She simply wanted to be useful. As the days passed, I began noticing something else. Rachel often disappeared for several hours with folders and phone calls that she tried to hide from me. Late at night, I could hear her quietly crying through the guest room wall. She always pretended everything was fine the next morning. But sadness has a way of revealing itself even behind the strongest smile. Exactly 3 weeks after she arrived, the repair company finished restoring her apartment. I expected her to pack immediately. Instead, she stood in the living room holding her suitcase without moving. Tears filled her eyes as she admitted she couldn't make herself walk out that door again. She confessed that returning hadn't reminded her of the marriage we had lost. It had reminded her of the people we used to be before fear and exhaustion slowly stole our joy. Rachel finally shared the truth she had been hiding. Shortly after our divorce, her younger sister, Abigail, had become seriously ill and needed months of financial support. Rachel had quietly emptied her savings, worked multiple jobs, and carried the burden alone because she didn't want anyone to feel responsible. By the time Abigail recovered, Rachel had nothing left except debt and overwhelming loneliness. Coming back to my house wasn't about convenience. It was the only place where she had ever truly felt safe. Hearing those words broke something inside me, not because she had hidden the truth, but because I realized how easily two people can lose each other while both are trying to be strong. Over the following months, we didn't rush to rebuild what had been broken. Instead, we started with simple things. Morning coffee on the porch, church on Sundays, volunteering together every Wednesday evening, long walks through the neighborhood, where silence no longer felt uncomfortable. Trust wasn't restored through grand promises. It returned through countless ordinary moments filled with patience and grace. One autumn afternoon, while planting new flowers beside the front steps, Rachel smiled and admitted that she had once believed second chances only existed in movies. I looked at the little house around us, the neighbors waving from across the street, and the life quietly growing back where heartbreak had once lived. Sometimes miracles don't arrive all at once. Sometimes they arrive one ordinary day at a time until you suddenly realize your heart has found its way home. If this story has touched your heart, please take a moment to like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who still believes healing is possible. Stories like these remind us that hope often returns when we least expect it. Before this story ends, we'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment and tell us, do you believe people truly deserve a second chance when both hearts are willing to grow? Rachel never planned to return, and I never expected to open that door again. Yet forgiveness didn't erase the past, it gave us the courage to build a better future. Sometimes, the greatest blessing isn't finding someone new. Sometimes it's discovering that two changed hearts can create a completely new beginning together, proving that kindness, faith, and love still have the power to bring people home.